So I'm David Cates. I'm the moderator. Just here to introduce. These guys are gonna do their thing. They're gonna read you some good stuff. Stephen Graham Jones is gonna read first. We're gonna have a short Q&A, and then I'm gonna introduce the next 4 readers, and they're gonna read 12 minutes in there. But Stephen's gonna read about 20 minutes, and then we're going to have time for a Q&A, and then he has to get to the airport. Stephen Graham Jones is a professor of English and creative writing at the University of Colorado, the author of 21 books.
Wow.
Including when you get past toes and fingers, you're up there. Including The Fast Red Road, A Plain Song, Lead Feather, The Gospel of Z, and Bleed Into Me, a book of stories. The honors his work has received include the Texas Institute of Letters Jesse H. Jones Award for Fiction and the Independent Book Publisher Book Award for Multicultural Fiction. He's a recipient of the Writers League of Texas Fellowship in Literature and a National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship in Literature. Please welcome Stephen Graham Jones.
Thank you for coming. Does this work? No? I'll just talk like this.
Yell it out, man.
Oh, there's a switch? The light's on. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah. I'll just talk with my voice. Is my voice good? Y'all can hear me? I'll talk loud. All right.
I mean, like, I don't like the sound of your voice.
Oh, no. And this is the Hair of the Dog panel. So I'm not going to read from the Wolf book. I'm going to read some dog stuff for y'all.
Dogs.
And I've got a lot of dog stuff, it turns out. Yeah. This one, a little bitty short one. I read a lot of short stuff like this length. And this is more than it looks like because I print at 13 points so I can read. Good times. So one day you're there on the couch doing nothing pretty much, just petting your dog Sheila and shaking your head at JJ on the television. And then during a commercial for soap, you follow your arm down to see what your hand's up to. And there are your fingers, rolling one of your basset hound's thick, leathery nipples back and forth. Do you stop all at once? Or do you slow down? Let your hand just move back to her side like nothing's happening here. Nothing at all. And your dog's name isn't really Sheila either, of course. Nobody would name a basset hound anything but Cleo or Tilda, or for contrast, Guinevere. But Sheila. She's been gone from your house now for 6 weeks and 5 days. Don't say her name out loud quietly. Okay, don't say it again. Just move your hand away from the dog slowly, all one petting motion. You're stopping any moment now. Just a little longer though, maybe. Draw the curtains if you have to. You know, I was going to just get up here and tell y'all dog stories, but I made a list of all my dogs, and it was a long list, and there's no happy endings in those dog stories, you know? I'll tell you one dog story only. One dog story. That's, when you live as deep out in the country as we did in West Texas, your group of dogs you have around the house, they change from like month to month because people come from town, come out to let their dogs live with farmers, and they come live with us because we're the farmers. And you get a pit bull and it kills all your dogs and you have to start all over again. But anyways, when I was 12, this dog looked up. He was like a Great Dane Lab or something. He was probably the best natured dog I ever had. Good old dog, just a big old lanky dude. He'd fight when he had to, but he was just happy to be around. So one day we're cooking burgers out front of the house, and you know, it's probably 14 of us, 16 of us. We're all huddled under a mimosa tree when it was all pink and bloomy, like we're standing in a unicorn dream or something, and we're eating our burgers, and the dogs are around our feet, probably 4 of them, and we're dropping food everywhere, and the dogs are, you know, sneaking in to get it like they do, and sure enough, somebody drops a piece of food, and one of the other dogs, who's not my dog Pepper, that big black dog, snipes in and gets it, and Pepper lifts his lips at that dog like the next one's mine, you know, just kind of staking out his territory, but the kid who had dropped that piece of burger was my little nephew. He was probably about 6 then, and And my uncle, he had his burger in his mouth and he stopped eating, and I could see Pepper raise his lip like that. And so he stepped over to his car, because we all parked on the lawn and everywhere. And he stepped over to his car, reached in his dash, got his .38 and put it right on the dog's head and just blew half the dog's head away right there in the middle of all of us. And my dog Pepper wavered there for a bit, then fell over, and we all finished what we were eating, or finished what we had in our mouths. And then we had to break up the cookout so we could go bury the dog. And so that's how all my dog stories go. That's why I'm not going to tell y'all dog stories. You know? I'll just read you stuff. He said no dog is gonna growl at my kid. You know, he was right, I guess. This is The Age of Hasty Retreats. Have you heard this one before? Okay, it's got some dogs in it. It's not exactly happy, but it's a zombie story. Okay. The Age of Hasty Retreats. These were the days when, if you wanted to survive, you wore a leather or canvas belt with loops spaced evenly all around it, loops made from shoestrings. You could find the shoestrings everywhere. Every husk of a person lying in the street, all of them who hadn't been caught in the shower or doing yoga, they had some kind of footwear on them. And of course you target the men because they have laces more often. You don't much want the work boot kind of lace though. They're unforgiving, can get you killed. No, what you need are the kind that will break away with a flick of your wrist. And if you're not sure, then it never hurts to go ahead and cut that loop maybe halfway through, just to be sure. If it snaps too early, while you're scrambling over a burnt car, diving through a window, then so be it. Like I said, there are shoes everywhere. As for the belt itself, you need something wide. A general rule of thumb is that if it fits through the loops of your pants, then it's not sturdy enough. The kind of belt you want, that works best, it's the kind that's made not to go through the loops. Police officers are the best bet, but lose the mace, the pepper spray. You really think the undead care about their eyes? However, since the majority of the police force went down in the first day or two, protecting and serving, you might want to check behind the seats or in the toolboxes of the pickup trucks parked around construction sites. Tool belts. They're supple, always already broken in. Just cut or chew the pouches off. Adjust the buckle so the belt rides on your hips like a real gunslinger, and you're ready. Or, as soon as you poke holes for the loops of shoestrings, then all that's left is to raid the pantries, cracked open the cat food. It works for all the little animals except squirrels, but who would want a squirrel? No, domestics are the best bet by far. With a single can of cat food, you can often draw in a full load, can completely recharge your belt. The zombies can't catch them, the dogs, the cats, so they're everywhere, hiding, starving, just wanting some companionship, which you can, of course, provide. And sure, let them eat if you want. It'll make them trust you, maybe even enough that you can pick them up. As for size, under 10 pounds is best. 6 is about ideal. Next is the hard part. Working those small bodies into the loops you fashioned onto your belt. And never by the neck. What use would it be to carry around a cat or a lapdog you've strangled? That'd be sick. And anyway, zombies don't like dead flesh. Looping them under the armpits is best. Granted, it leaves their hind legs free to pedal a furrow into your leg or buttocks, but there are ways around that. You can tie their feet together, of course, or just break them, whatever you're comfortable with. However, if there's blood from that break, then you've spoiled that cat, that puppy, and iguanas are useless, might as well be dead as far as zombies are concerned. Start over, do it right this time. Your life depends on it. And yes, hopefully you won't need to use these grenades you're making, but of course, in a more ideal world, the dead wouldn't be walking either, right? So with a full squirming belt, then just go about living in your usual manner. And whenever it happens, and it will, that you're making your mad dash away from whatever horde you stumbled onto, and they're gaining like they always do, then all you have to do is, without breaking stride, pull on the cat or puppy by whatever your dominant hand is and splash it down onto the ground. The idea is that you want some of that blood in the air. And if you've broken this pet's legs, then of course the lead zombie, there's always a runner, will be on it in a flash. It's all buried in the gore, and if you've tied them together, then it's pretty much the same result. What you need, of course, is a dog or a cat that can't run. Which, yes, starvation will to some degree satisfy, but most of us carry odd bits of food for the animals. Because we care about them, I don't think that's completely it, no. And it's not a thank you in advance either. Not really. It's more that the animals have conditioned us to feed them. Or by feeding them just enough to keep them alive, we're demonstrating that we still have some tether, no matter how bloody, to the old world, to the way it was. And it would be completely dishonest of me to try to say that all of us don't hitch the belts around such that our favorite animal is at our dominant hand, the hand we most like to pet with. That connection with a palm-sized skull, a warm body, one dependent upon you, one happy that you're touching it. It can get you through a whole night of hiding behind a mailbox if you need it to. Though, of course, most of that situation will break. We'll start lobbing pets into the street like mortars, perhaps kissing each on the mouth before slinging it up into the sky. There's even legend of a tall man, our progenitor perhaps, who wears bandoliers across his chest, a suckling kitten thumbed into each cartridge space, a bottle of milk in his pocket to keep them alive. And yes, with the cats at least, you can sling them by the tail before release if you want. The sound they make is perfect. But you have to time it just right so the cat sails over the horde's head. And you also have to never reconsider, never stop swinging, because that's a cat you'll never reholster. As for the animals, is this not why we domesticated them? For companionship in times of leisure, sure, but in times like this, to serve us, to help us survive. They die fully aware of what their sacrifice means, are proud to be allowing us another few feet of life. However, there are, of course, lines. The second day of the plague, when it spilled down from the airport and infected downtown, my neighbor's 9-year-old son attempted to mask his scent with the gore of a decapitated zombie. A fully effective measure, provided you have the nerve, the stomach. He had both. But you don't want to let that gore come into contact with your tear ducts or any cuts you might have. Things progressed in a predictable way after that until my neighbor took the easy way out, siphoned the gas from his car, lawnmower, and weed eater, and set fire to himself and his son. Valiant, perhaps, but irresponsible as well. He didn't take into account the acetylene torch in his garage. When the flames spread there, as flames will, the resulting explosion caved in the wall of my son's bedroom, crushing his right leg while he slept. Luckily, it's a closed break, no bone coming through the skin, but of course, pushing him around in a wheelchair or a shopping cart, even strapped to a dolly or pulled in a make-do rickshaw, that's no way to beat a hasty retreat. And this is the age of hasty retreats. Luckily for me, though, he's small for his age, 6, so I've been able to fashion a quiver of sorts for him to ride in. He sits backwards, of course, to better see and warn me about our constant pursuers, and all in all, it's not bad. I always know where he is, and as for him, he's named the animals I'll wear around my belt. There's Axel and Win and Lobby and General Tough and Red Eye, and, after his mother, Sydney. And so we scavenge, have the various skirmishes that are unavoidable, until it comes to pass that, running ahead of some 12 or 15 zombies one afternoon, I have to wrench the belt around, jerk sideways on Sydney, my son reaching for her the whole time. Which is, I suppose, where my son's rear view is perhaps not as ideal as it usually is. He has to watch the lead zombie lower its mouth to the cat he named, suckle it dry, but there's nothing for it. My legs are burning, my feet pounding, my front backpack lined with canned goods, and the sounds of our pursuers are more distant now. My son's slacking his quiver like I've taught him so as to preserve my balance. At least until a chance zombie, one of the fast ones, breaks from whatever it had been feeding on in the doorway. And of course, Sydney was our last animal. Now it's a race. The kind where I'm trying to be sure I really have saved one round in my left-hand pistol. The way I picture it is I'll round a corner, slide to a stop, swing my son around and pull his forehead to mine, hold us together like that. If I do it right, if the slug's got enough powder behind it, I can end us both with one shot. And if not, he'll be first anyway, and I'll be covered in him, and we'll have done everything we can do. Except I'm wrong. There is one more thing to do, as it turns out. One last line to cross. While I'm looking for our corner, my son pulls his release strap, launches himself down, his bad leg crunching under him. And with his weight gone, I fall forward, skid on my palms, roll over just in time to see the new lead zombie almost to him. No, I yell, reaching with my left hand with the pistol, but my shot goes wild, and my son, he looks back to me then, and is so calm, so serene, so happy to be doing this for me, that it would be a travesty for me not to stand, run, keep living, for him, always for him. I got two little short pieces to read, but I'm just going to read one of them. I only got time for one of them. One of them is, the first line is, I became a pedophile in the summer of '99, but I think I'll end on a more upbeat story. This one's called Love is a Cavity I Can't Stop Touching. And before I edited it down to read to y'all, it had a dog in it, but the dog has been edited out, so maybe you'll hear it barking, I don't know. This is only 4 pages, and that's a big font. Love is a cavity I can't stop touching. When I was 14, I ate a cooked piece of thigh meat off my girlfriend, Sherry Wilkes. Back then, she was Sherry with an I, with a heart for the dot when she could get away with it. Now she's Sherry with the Y again, nearly 20 years later. I can still see the girl she was at 14, though. It's the eyes. All the women in her family have the same look. I ate a piece from her, she ate a piece from me. We never had sex either, maybe because we didn't have to after that. It was like we'd gone out of order, skipped the tenderness, gone straight to the part where we consume each other. We didn't make it long after that Thursday night. Both our legs gauzy and bleeding, not because of shame or regret, and it wasn't that awkwardness that follows the kind of intimacy we shared either. I think it was that we could see the dim shape of the next step, the next stage, the one that would leave us dead in our separate rooms, our suicides planned down to the minute, our bodies abandoned, like to prove we were meeting somewhere else. Screw this town. My leg turned up infected later that week. Sherry's leg never got infected. That's because she went first, probably. We loved each other, see? Not like I love my wife, Alice. How I love Alice, that'll last until we're old and gray. It's already taken us through lost jobs and late nights. And it'll take us through, hold on, missing a page. Hold on, let's take it. It's probably just shuffled in. Hold on. Yeah, here it is. It'll take us through hospitals and alcoholism and whatever else it needs to. Because it's a love that's quartered with muscle, a love built to last. How I love Sherry, though, Sherry with the I, that was white hot. Some nights, alone in my room in 9th grade, I thought it was going to burn me up, leave nothing but a pile of ash on my sheets for my mom to find. When we whispered forever to each other, it wasn't a promise, it was a dare. Now I know we weren't good for each other, of course, like healthy. The rational part of me knows that if we'd somehow managed to stay together in spite of ourselves, then even at our age, there'd be domestic disturbance calls once or twice a month. And that would just be the part of our relationship making it into the public eye. Behind closed doors, I don't know. We would eat each other up. I guess it's as simple as that. It's better we stopped where we did, I can't deny that. But I also can't deny that one night, 2 14-year-olds locked in a type of one-upmanship love that neither would ever feel again, that they did something they could never take back, that they would never want to take back. It started with a lie about the Thursday night junior varsity basketball game, the one they were each going to with different friends, not with each other. Instead of that game, they walked out into the woods with a knife, with a coat hanger, with a roll of gauze, to play a different game. They weren't holding hands. They weren't smiling. Love, it can be grim. It can be so grim it hurts. They walked out just past where any headlights would cut through the trees, and then they set down their implements and caught each other's eyes, like to see who would blink first. Neither of us did. Sherry had worn shorts. She's always been smart like that. Because it's what the doctor did for vaccinations, I rubbed the spot on her thigh she already traced with a ballpoint pen. You were supposed to bring rubbing alcohol, she said. My mom would have noticed, I said. She was sitting down and I was sitting lower, taking a knee like Coach always said. This is how people propose and get proposed to. When she nodded yes, the collar of her shirt pulled up into her teeth to bite. I blew on the pale skin of her thigh, then I carved into it. The same way when you're eating watermelon with a spoon, you go in a little, then scoop that red meat back up. My scoop was more ragged, but before the blood rushed in, it left the same kind of crater. And Sherry, she screamed. I would too, but it was through her teeth. It was through how hard she was biting into her shirt. She had the gauze balled in her hand and pressed down right when I was done. Pressed down like trying to squash the pain away. The bite of her thigh I had in my palm was deep red, and the muscle had striation to it, and one side had her skin still and some peach fuzz on it. Just enough. I held it in my hand while she carved on me, my pants pulled down to my ankles. Right before the blade went into my muscle, that was what I was worried about, how stupid I must look standing there in my underwear. Because she was a more delicate eater, she ran the fine edge of the blade up and down before cutting to shave the few long hairs off. We were both crying by the time it was done. This is how you know it's love. The next part was easy. We just skewered the 2 bites onto the coat hanger, roasted them under her, lighter, taking turns because it kept heating up, burning our thumbs. We laughed because it was stupid that thumbs could matter after what we'd done to our legs. I didn't want it to, but the peach fuzz on the bite of her thigh, it curled up and smoked away. Next, just like we planned, we slid the meat off and we fed it to each other. I took the bite she offered all at once to show how little hesitation I was having about this whole thing. But Sherry had been raised better. She took one bite, her incisors just brushing the pads of my thumb. The meat was still red in the center. There it is, yeah. She swallowed, then took my wrist in her hand, guided the rest of the bite in, her eyes locked on me the whole while. When we limped out of those trees, we were different people than we'd been. It was nighttime now. Everybody was at the basketball game, watching the JV team lose again. There was no one to witness our transformation, no headlights to throw our shadows tall against the trees. No deer or raccoon considered us, then scurried away. The mosquitoes didn't make a tunnel for us to walk down. The reason I was the one to get infected, I figured, was that Sherry's blood was on that blade. I couldn't have cleaned it with the lighter, though. You don't clean the blade if you love someone. And I didn't throw that piece of her up either. I've never thrown it up. One dusk, I walked into the mystery and the muscle of love, and I came back from that darkness holding a girl's hand, and I kissed her lightly on the lips before we parted ways, my fingertips to her hip, and I was aware of her musculature in a completely new way. The divot is still in my leg, the cavity, the well, the tip of my finger knows so well. Sitting at my desk, I can rub my finger into it through my pants. Alice says it looks like a weakness in the muscle. I don't let her run her finger down into it, of course. Sherry doesn't know about it at all. I don't think. Because our town is small, I still see her once every couple weeks, more in the summer. As near as I can tell, she doesn't wear shorts short enough to show her scar, and I never see her at the pool, and I stay until dark some nights. There's a couple of girls there, though. One's named Claire, the other's Clarissa. Girls with names like Sherry with an I, they do things like name their daughters with the same letter up front. Their eyes are just like their mother's. When they break the surface of the water after a dive, it's like Sherry's rising all over again in slow motion. And their thighs, high up on their thighs, dusted with golden hair. Some days I have to close my eyes. And some days when the pool closes because night is sifting in, some days I collect my towel and my lotion and I turn left after walking out the pool gate. Left, not right, which would be towards my house. There's two girls jumping from line to line of the sidewalk in front of me. They're walking into the darkness. The older one's 8, the younger one's 6. I'm just following to keep them safe, I tell myself. In my mouth, it's not watering. That would be wrong. Like love knows the difference. Thank you. Thank you. We got time for a question or two. Y'all have any questions? No, about, yeah.
Have you always totally creeped people out with your writing?
Yeah, I like horror because horror like is the only genre that can get a visceral response from people that they don't want to give. I think, you know, like when you go into a romance or a western or a comedy, then you're going in there with you're willing to participate. You're saying yes, make me laugh, yes, make me cry. When you go into horror, sometimes you go in with your defenses up. You say, there's a boom mic, this is all fake and everything. Nevertheless, at 2 a.m, you're hesitating before you turn the light off, you know? And that's what I like about horror.
There were a few giggles in
Oh, yeah.
there too.
The way humor works in horror is it's a pressure release valve, because if you just keep climbing, you're going to get to the precipice really quick and fall off. So you got to reset and reset and reset. Yeah. Anything else? Y'all ready to hear the rest of the people?
Really amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. All right, let's let the rest of the people take off.
Next reading is Adrian Jawort, a freelance journalist and fiction writer from Lockwood, Montana. In northern Cheyenne, he's lived on various Indian reservations and founded Off the Path Press, LLC, which aims to find true beauty in literature off the beaten path. Off the Beaten Press has produced 2 anthologies by Indigenous writers, Off the Path Volume 1 and 2, and a novel by Adrian Moon, Rise Falling. Thanks for coming.
No microphone, so. Behold, I gotta try to raise my voice, or to translate it to the Indians. Behold. But I did not know what I was gonna read till like literally an hour ago, because I had passages from each one of these picked out. And then I remembered I sat at a sacred spot, smoking and drinking a Sparks, also known as under the Higgins Street Bridge. And the words of Sterling's cousin came to mind, and he really liked this novel, Moonrise Falling. But what he said about it was, I said, well, why do you like it? He kept saying that the character, she's really real in there. I said, well, what makes her real? And she goes, she isn't planned, not no epic lineage and shit. She isn't painted to be red, to be Indian. She just has Indian experience. A lot of Indians in fiction share commonalities with non-Indians with their magicness, and that their main Indian features are merely poetic and catty. It's a Blackfeet word. Deidre has the experience that, literally, only Native Americans have, even though others share the same abuse and shit. No one but Indians have ICWA in their lives, and that's Indian Child Welfare Act. I mean, I could explain that for a while, but in the timeline of it, the Indian Child Welfare Act, I think it's 1978 or something, it was created with really great intentions, where people were just taking Indian kids off the res, and they were just like, almost like kidnapping. But at the same time, I grew up we had a lot of foster kids, and we seen the opposite, where people were with good families, maybe they weren't of the same tribe and stuff, or weren't native, but they just take them back to an abusive situation. And this is this Moonrise Falling. It's actually a horror book. I'll just say it straight up. It's a vampire book, so and the character's name's Deidre, so we could have had Team Deidre versus Team Steven. So, but anyways, this is just to do a quick. There's a lot leading up to this in this part, but basically, the gal is her mom had committed suicide, but she also taught her to read. It was like there's another partner. She's like, I'm going up to the clouds. That's what she told her the last time she seen her, and she said, CLOWDS. She goes, no, it's CLUDS. And then the mom says, she goes, okay. Then she spells it right. Then she knows her mom's leaving, and it's like really emotional, and it was like one of the hardest characters I ever had to write. But because no, I was just wrong. I'll spell it right. She just knows her mom's leaving, but she left her with the good people and stuff out in the country, and she had an idyllic life and stuff. But she ended up being pulled back to an abusive family that she later found out that her mother grew up with, and she was always sexually abused and stuff. But anyways, I'll just get into it. Oh, one more thing. I'm gonna talk about it longer than the reading, but yeah, she got a book from her teacher. She was like a really bright kid. It was Diary of Anne Frank, and she just loved that book. I don't know why. I mean, it says it in here somewhere, but anyways, it's been a while since I read this. But she goes, I got home that day and the uncle's wife grabbed me by my hair as soon as I walked in the door, slapped me around, and threw me into my room and told me not to come out. I didn't know what that was for, but I presumed it had something to do with school since I just started it. Their beatings hardly even affected me anymore. I took them with a grain of salt as part of life, although I'd started becoming bitterer over them as opposed to being afraid. I just sat down and read my book again, ignoring the stinging sensation on my face. I must have been in my room for a long time, as I noticed it was dark out and I never got to eat anything that night, and my stomach wouldn't let me forget that detail. I laid down and waited for the inedible whatever was about to come my way. The uncle was nowhere to be seen that whole night, and finally I heard him coming in late from whatever bar. I knew his molesting of me was wholly wrong since they had a specific word for it, that meant it was especially negative, but I was just content he'd been doing it less and less as of late. He awfully called it, giving me a kiss goodnight. So I hear the wife yelling around to the husband about me and all, and something about the school. The uncle starts yelling around too. They were both really worked up, and I knew I was in trouble then. He barges into my room, and I immediately sit up. "What the hell you telling those teachers at the school?" he goes. "Nothing," I said, which was true. "You lying little bitch. You telling them we ain't taking care of you?" "I never said nothing to them," I yelled defiantly. He started taking off his belt right then, and I knew it was coming no matter what I did. I braced myself, looked him in the eye, and said it again. "I didn't say nothing." Him. "We'll see about that." Then he whacks me real hard across the shoulder with the belt. I don't even think I flinched. I was so sick of him and determined to stand up for myself. "What about that teacher coming by that day, huh? What about her coming by? What'd she say?" the wife said. That's when she gave him the book. I hated her for saying that. For seeing me and the teacher that day. It nearly negated every positive memory I had of that day, just knowing that I was being watched by that stupid cunt. I never answered the question, and the uncle jerked me by my hair, so I fell forward. Then he started hitting me with the belt, and it went on for a long time. I thought he was going to kill me, and I don't think I would have cared if I died right then, too. It was that bad. He's hit me all over with that belt, and kicked me until a couple of my teeth were knocked loose. But I wasn't scared. If I was going to die, I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of letting them know they'd really beaten me where it mattered, in my soul. He probably was going to kill me until the wife intervened some way, and then he let up. "What did she say, you dumb little bitch? That teacher," he said to me. He whacked me across the back of the head with the buckle of his belt. I put my hand to where he hit me, felt something wet that was blood. My head became numb and light. He then whacked my hand holding my head too, and that stunned and hurt even more. The wife, sounding for once concerned for me, said, "Answer him, Deidre, please." She must have started getting worried for me, but they were not leaving without the answer, so I told him coldly. I said she didn't say nothing. She gave me a book. That's all. For my birthday. I started crying again, despite my not wanting to. They were ruining one of the only good things that happened to my life in a long time. I could think about getting that birthday book even during the most foreboding of times, and I'd go away in my head. I even looked at the wrapping paper every day, and sometimes rewrapped it. Now they were exposing that moment as if to drag it out and stomp on it, or at least I thought that, and that's why I was crying. "She didn't give you no book. Now where is it if that's all she done?" he said. Not even bothering to look up, sitting there with my head in my arms, I just pointed to the end of the bed. I heard him grab the book, say something about stupid Jews, and then the most horrible thing possible happened. The fucker started ripping up the book. Of anything he could have done, that was the worst. I didn't care then, about me, about him, about everything. I jumped up and tried rescuing the book and yelled, "No!" at the top of my lungs, but of course that was to no avail. He was too strong and backhanded and knocked me down. I got up again, and I don't know what I was trying to do, but I ran at him and clawed, scratched him, bit him, whatever. I was possessed. I was knocked unconscious shortly after. I woke up later towards dawn. I had blood caked all over my face, clothes, bed. My head hurt all over too. This is all in quotations. I should have pointed that out. Anyways, Deidre started laughing maniacally. "You know the funniest thing?" she said. "What's that?" She's telling the story to the goodness. "What's that?" I had no idea what she could have found so humorous about the brutally morbid story she'd been telling me. I felt dandy. Screw the physical pain. My heart felt the best. My mind felt at ease. My conscience was clear. I'd fought back. I saw some of the pages of my book ripped up on the floor, and I was again disheartened, but not all the way. Him destroying my book would be remedied. And I'm going to do 2 more pages out of this. This is chapter 17. It's called Paper, Rock, I Win. Phew, she let out a breath if she were relieved to be done with the difficult part of her story. She seemed eager, yet calm, when she started talking again. It all happened very methodical, the events that occurred next. I knew what I had to do. I was going to kill that bastard uncle of mine. Realized by then I knew what he'd done to me was very bad and totally wrong. It's not like I didn't know what he meant by punishing like that whore mother of mine by then. I thought about it plenty of times, and I knew what pedophile meant. In a strange, incongruous way, it gave me a little comfort, just knowing that my mom had gone through the same thing with this pedo creep. It's weird to explain, but I was like, this used to happen to my mom too. She went through it and ended up nice every little while whenever the hurt and disconsolateness of it all seeped into my heart and threatened to make it forever black. I knew I wasn't alone at the very least. Very fucked up rationalizing, but when you got to tell yourself something to help you pass through those times. I knew I wasn't the only person this awful thing had happened to. There was an actual word for it, so others must have had this happen to them too. Why God didn't punish all those big people back in Moses' day, I didn't know, and I asked him why. Right then though, I was more than upset, and I couldn't stop grinning. Simply quite mad, really. Something was telling me to do something, and I was going to listen to it. No matter what happened, I'd listen to this voice or whatever in me and write it out because it was making me happy despite the disconsolation. She has a higher vocabulary than I do, so I felt my book being ripped up. I must have thought it was my mom, this voice, because I whispered, "I'll do it, Mom. I'll be a good girl." There was no turning back. So I sneak out of my room, and it's dawn, so I don't need to turn on any lights. I went to the kitchen as quiet as I could be, then start pulling out the drawers. Ah, knives. No, I'm thinking something else. I intuitively pull open another drawer, the bottom one, and there's a pair of pretty hefty and sharp heavy-duty scissors in there. They're like daggers. I knew the lady used them for sewing or something once in a while for patches on jeans. But yeah, those were what I needed. Grab a steak knife, too. I taped a scissor blade so it's sort of at a right angle and only one blade is protruding straight away. I also grabbed a short knife for good measure. I walked down the hallway. It's building up inside me, all this tension. It wants release. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. It's not a long hallway. It's a very short trailer. I peek inside the half-open door. They're both sleeping. All right, breathe. I walk up to the bed as quiet as possible. The floor creaks a little too loudly and I stop. The wife is stirring a bit. She actually has her arm around that bastard. I move forward again and I am right next to him. I could smell that detestable breath through his heavy snoring. He's laying on his side, so his face is about 2 feet from my right hand, the hand with the scissors in them. The left hand has a short, stout steak knife in it. I breathe deeply again, and for the first time I'm losing some of the intensity. It's starting to leak out, but the voice comes back to me. Do it now. I'm having second thoughts about whatever I was going to do. Until I pictured the ripped up pages of my book scattered all over in that little prison cell room of mine. Maybe I can fix it, I thought briefly. No, someone has to pay for that. It's Saturday and they're going to be here all day. I know I'm probably going to be confined to my room and be beat every little while for attacking the uncle amongst other things. I raise my right hand slowly. My left hand with the knife wants some revenge too. I look at the bastard's closed eyes. There. My hand is about shoulder level. And I'm not even thinking anymore. My vision is getting blurry because of tears clouding my eyes. This was it. I'll be a good girl for you, Mommy. I sniffle a bit as I was crying silently. And the wife I know was starting to wake up. She opens her eyes and instantly I'm resolute again. The scissors plunge with all my strength into the eye area of the husband as she sees it all. The audience made it better, especially since it was her. It made sense. She stood by and watched me be tortured by this man. Now she could watch this too, since that was all she was good for. The scissors stopped after they mostly ripped through the eyeball and upper nose area. The sight of the blood and sound of my uncle and wife screaming means nothing to me. My left hand remembers what it wanted to do and thrust into uncle's stomach twice. But I know it's not deep enough for a kill. I know he feels it though. His arms flail wildly forward, trying to protect himself and try to hit me. But I'm too quick and hop backwards towards his doorway and he lunges and falls off the bed. He holds his stomach. My eyes dart the room. I'm also preparing to run, though I'm still rabid with anger. The fight mechanism wants it more than a flight. The lady has stood up and has the audacity to act like what I was doing was somehow wrong. I still don't hear her, but she's yelling and condemning me as the hunched over uncle suffers justice. She's dared taking a step towards me. She's wrong, I'm right. Shut up, I say, and throw the scissors with all my strength at her. I could throw well, as I threw rocks at sit-up targets and birds, if possible, many times a day when I wasn't reading. The scissors bounce off her stupid face and graze her. She's bleeding pretty good. Excellent. But she's not down. I made her mad. She's charging towards me a bit until I charge her back and swipe crazily with my wife. She turns her attention to the sobbing, screaming, cursing uncle. I have the urge to stab her in the back of her head as she scrambles and stoops to put a pillowcase on his wounds. But I take off running instead. Down the hallway, out the door, across the field. I still have the knife in my hand. I'm going to that town. I'm hungry and my stomach is growling. I recall counting mile markers, and it was 7 of them. I'll stay out of sight of the road, but walk along it behind the rolling hill off to the side. I walk, not even thinking about what I had done for the first few miles, but then I start laughing to myself as I picture the uncle lying there in his own reap, not being able to see and in agonizing pain. I told you I'd be a good girl for you, Mommy, I said. I'm sort of sad I didn't kill him, but if they send me back there, I'll tell them I'll do it again without hesitation. 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 I was supposed to have books sent here, but they sent them to the wrong address in Billings. So.
Oh, no.
But I do have some new and used copies, so randomly set up on the cubes over here. So.
Thanks, Adrian. It's not a long hallway, it was a short trailer. It's just some things are beautiful. It's a great little thing there. Tiffany Midge. Her poetry collection is The Woman Who Married a Bear, University of New Mexico Press. Won the Kenyon Review's Earthworks Prize for Indigenous Poetry. Her previous collection, Outlaws, Renegades, and Saints, Diary of a Mixed-Up Half-Breed. Greenfield Review Press was awarded the Diane Decora Memorial Poetry Prize. Her fiction from a work of progress called Sex, Love, and Fry Bread has been published in the Raven Chronicles, Pushcart nominated, and Hinchas de Poesia, Yellow Medicine Review, and As/Us. Her poetry's been featured in the Rumpus, Okey Panky, and Electric Literature. Tiffany has contributed satire for Indian Country Today, Media Network, Sovereign Bodies, and Queen Mob's Tea House. Oops. She holds an MFA from the University of Idaho and is enrolled in the Standing Rock Sioux and is a poet laureate of Moscow, Idaho. One day she hopes to be the distinguished writer in residence in Seattle's Space Needle. She thank you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Montana. It's thrilling to be here. Is Stephen still here?
He had to take off.
He had to take off? Okay, so I can relax. All right. We were told that we were supposed to bring a dog poem, so I found one in here. What is it? Okay. It's an excerpt from a larger piece from this diary section from this very old book. May 1970. My father brings home a bundle hidden inside his sport coat. He tells me to guess what it is. I secretly wish that it's a monkey and that my father is the man in the yellow hat, but it isn't, and neither is he. He opens his coat, and a scruff of fur and teeth peeks out. It's a German Shepherd pup we name Schunke, which means dog in soup. At dinner time, Father jokes and tells me that Mother cooked Schunke and that this is the scrawny meat cowering next to our creamed corn. My sister begins to cry, and my mother glares at my father as if to say, "You're not funny." This is my father's version of Indian humor, except nobody ever laughs. Later, we had to put Chunka to sleep. He fell in with the wrong crowd and was accused of killing sheep, so Father brings a mustard-colored mutt home and we name it Custer. Father tells us that a mutt is your basic half-breed, only nobody knows which side it's on. He smiles at me when he says this. Indian humor. Later, Custer was attacked by the junkyard dog Puppet who lives next door. All that was left of his yellow coat and dog-eyed expressions we'd come to adore was a greasy spot in the driveway where he was massacred. There was no trace of remains for us to bury. Indian justice. That was for you.
I appreciate the hell out
Like
of that.
traumatized now. I'm all triggered.
It's awesome. Well, now I'm hungry, so thanks for doing it.
That's really bad. Okay. I'm going to read a poem called Antiquing with Indians. And it's from this book that is also for sale over there. First it was the tumblers for highballs, cocktail hour with primitives, the kind your grandma wore her red dress for. $30 seemed too steep for a stereotype, except for bones, perfect and white, snapped through afros, pierced through noses, prehistoric as flint. Still, you wanted them, even if you don't drink anymore. Then it was the Battle of Little Bighorn board game, replete with War Bonnet Sioux and Cheyenne, action figures on horseback, Gatling guns and cannons, tomahawks, and war shields galore. But you're above all that, except for the beaded Indian doll, the pin cushion with the wrist clasp. You want to be that Indian wearing the Indian like a Russian doll. You want to uncover and uncover, go undercover, and pin yourself back to completion again. Buy the beaded skirt for those days when voodoo seems a viable option. You know the ones. The moment we entered the store, the real-life version of Pocahontas and John Smith, a voice from the back called out, "Squaw Man." Later, we found out the 1906 novel the voice was referring to. Don't you want to be more than a metaphor? That's the beauty of it, that's the trick. You think ironies are free, but they're not. Latona mentioned how she'd discovered a Tonto doll, stoic and monosyllabic, seated next to a Custer puppet, which had so unnerved her she felt it her duty to relocate Tonto to a more auspicious corner, someplace safe next to the doilies or fiesta-ware. What wars might emerge from such proximity, she'd wondered. What skirmishes could result? I imagine the Iroquois brave brandished on the Alpha Sikh cloth sack could overtake the Yakima squaw apple box, succeed his throne beyond the Calumet baking powder's proud profile. Don't mess with vintage, the collection seemed to warn. If you think this is Toy Story, you've got another thing coming. I think I'll read a poem for Sherwin Bitsui. It's such an honor to have him amidst our presence today. I feel like I'm among, movie stars. I've never met several of folks that are here today, and it's kind of really exciting. I'm going to be buzzed all week. So I want to read something for Sherwin, although don't read too much into it, because it's a vagina dentata poem. It's no reflection of my feelings for you. So, teeth in the wrong places. And it's in the voice of the persona of this evil old woman. Coyote was ripe for adventure and wanted to visit the evil old woman he'd been warned about. She lived with her 2 wicked daughters, and those who had slept with the handsome girls were never seen again. Sister! Coyote's just like any man, hungry for the dark loaves of a woman's thighs. You peel the skin of the tongue, they complain it's burned, add Tabasco. You boil the last of the turnips, they whine, goes down like gallstones. Beauty's just a bite away from want. I've seen fox chew off her own limb for just one more taste of freedom. Mother set the trap lines near beavers' dens, hauled in more than she could skin. They moved farther upriver next spring. What west wind blew those men into our house? Who ransacked the curio shelf, the burlap quilt and button jar? Whose boots are these tracking swamp rot through the kitchen? Where's yesterday's bread? And which dolt didn't cover the butter? Tomorrow, I'm fixin' to kill the angel of this house. Those men that come through here shooting lead slugs through my green bottles, waterlogging a season of straw, taking liberties with my good hen. Remember that one, those moons back, stepped out the beats like a jackrabbit and ornery as a circle saw. That other eye's a sweet blue, but disposition salty as piss and vinegar in the noonday sun. I say, Coyote's same as any man. Sister, desire's fixed to cut a tooth. Sister, I'm set to start grinding. If he's still here come morning, lay out the linen and splash on the toilet water. Put up the beans and bring up the choke cherries. Lend your voice to some pretty hymn. Occupy his ears so he's not to hear that clackety-clack racket, that awful gnashing of teeth going on down there. Should he ask, say how bitter an autumn we've had. Wouldn't he like to keep you warm? Then fasten your eye to his fly. Give his nether regions a good scratch. Fall open to the place where the moon rides up, north of the trap line, in a thicket of hairy frost. Sister, desire is fixed to cut a tooth. Sister, get set to start grinding. Okay. I want to read some excerpts from an essay. The title of the essay is called My Name is Moonbeam McSwine. And these are excerpts from I grew up doing a lot of theater, a lot of community theater. And so the drama that was happening behind the scenes oftentimes eclipsed the drama that was happening on stage. So how can you not write about it? So I'm just going to read some excerpts from that. One of the plays that I did at community college was called The Unseen Hand by Sam Shepard. And we had a crazy student director. Crazy. Crazy. Bad shit. The Unseen Hand. You're all standing around like mannequins. If Sam Shepard were here right now, he'd shit his fucking pants. If John Waters needed to cast an understudy for Divine, he'd choose Irina the Hun Cass, student director of Sam Shepard's The Unseen Hand, performed by Footlights Ensemble at Bellevue Community College. Bang! Irina simulated the shooting of a pistol. You're mad, see? Really, really mad, okay? Here, give me your gun. Irina took up Trevor's pistol while the rest of us tried to keep from laughing. Now it's like this. Bang! Bang, bang! Irina Irina strutted across the stage in her rhinestone-studded heels and leopard print see-through blouse. "Okay, watch me! Shoot him like this! Bang!" Gordon murmured chitty chitty under his breath, and right on cue, Irina finished, "Bang, bang!" It was hilarious. "Oh, shit!" Irina set the pistol down in a panic. "Is this thing loaded?" It goes on, but I'll just skip ahead. This was from the play Little Abner. I played a dog patcher. I pined for the role of Moonbeam McSwine. I wanted sleeping out with the hogs to be my line. I wanted the fellas to squire me only in fine weather. I wanted to be Moonbeam almost as much as I wanted to play the crazy cat girl Janice Vickery from the effects of the gamma rays on the man and the moon marigolds. Janice, who boiled the skin off a cat she supposedly got from the animal shelter and had to scrape the gristle off of the joints with a knife. Janice Vickery, who wryly said, "You have no idea how difficult it is to get right down to the bones." I like to imagine Janice Vickery not as the sociopath everyone made her out to be, but as a misunderstood genius, a scientist. I wanted to play Janice Vickery as much as I wanted to play Petra from A Little Night Music. Petra portrayed as the housemaid who liked to have a good time in that good way, that fun way. Her song about marrying the miller's son, or maybe the businessman, or maybe not anyone. Maybe Petra would rather have a wink and a giggle in the grass. A girl has to celebrate what passes by, because there are mouths to be kissed and mouths to be fed, you know. But there was no Moonbeam for me, because at 15, with a father who was playing the role of Earthquake Magoon, the village lech who chased after Daisy May, pawed at her like a cat toy, and literally licked her, the director wasn't willing to let me slop the hogs. I was much too innocent. So I became instead just another dog patcher, certainly not Stupefying Jones, but the dog patcher who gets fat-shamed by Mammy. "We wants to broaden our horizons," I squawked with my Indian corn hillbilly grin, and Mammy replied, "Your horizons are broad enough already." And the last piece is, there's several in this essay, but I'm just skipping ahead. One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest. Because my father played Chief Bromden. My white dad. It's perfect. My dad co-opted one of my mother's old wigs to play Chief Bromden, the mute Indian in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, for a local theater production. Although we had plenty of cultural insider awareness, he played mostly to stereotype, and his Bromden was stiff as a cigar Indian. I like to think he tried to bring some relevancy to the role, having been married to a Native woman, my mother, for all those years, but he was by no means a Will Sampson or Jason Momoa. His look had the kind of blue-eyed and bronze skin intensity often displayed by other white men playing Indians, Henry Brandon in The Searchers, Burt Lancaster in Apache, Iron Eyes Cody in those crying Indian commercials, Johnny Depp in Lone Ranger. The list sadly goes on and on. Years later, my father was arrested and sent to prison, where he started up an institutional theater group. I imagine it to be called Bards Behind Bars. His letters to me mentioned his fellow inmates, his recruits, some native, some black, and how they were studying different plays and scenes from Shakespeare and performing them to receptive audiences of their peers, Othello and Hamlet and Macbeth. I wanted to know if there was a figurative Chief Bromden or an R.P. McMurphy in residence. Maybe my father was the figurative R.P. McMurphy, sent to Forks Correctional Facility to rouse his incarcerated colleagues from their dormancy, be the catalyst who stirred things up, the trickster who changed everything. It sounds like the makings for the perfect Hollywood movie in the vein of the white savior narrative, the all too familiar trope in which a heroic white character rescues folks of color from their plight. The best exception that I can think of is Edward James Olmos in Stand and Deliver, and maybe Morgan Freeman in Lean on Me. Here's my movie pitch. A white savior convicted felon and drama teacher directs and stages Shakespearean productions with his fellow inmates. Oz meets Stand and Deliver, crossed with Kevin Costner, crossed with The Shawshank Redemption. Call it Stand and Deliver a soliloquy. Call it The Shakespeare Redemption. Call it Dances with Inmates. Call it Taming of the Screws. Call it All's Well That Ends Well in the Clink. Call it The Thespian of Oz. So appreciative of puns. I thought that do I have time for more, or am I up?
What?
Do I have time for more?
Yeah.
This is another collection of narratives. These are all nonfiction, by the way. Every word is true. You should know that. I should have probably prefaced that. Yeah, so this is a collection of funeral narratives, because nobody loves a funeral. So the first one is called Bury My Heart at Chuck E. Cheese's. The day of my mother's funeral service, I separated myself from the rest of the grieving throng and hid out in the musician's belfry like tortured Quasimodo, my grief too hideous to expose. I peered down upon the mourners below, watched my aunts struggling with folding a star quilt, trying to contain it within the casket. The lid wouldn't close. The white pastor believed my mother's quilt was some sort of ancient Lakota ritual. He announced it with gravity and a sense of suspicious distance. Native flute music floated out from the speakers as my auntie struggled to close the lid, both furtively cramming the ends of the quilt into the casket, tucking my mother inside. One of them gestured exasperatingly to the other, and then they both started to laugh. Months before her death, my mother made me promise that we'd bury her in her royal blue pantsuit, her favorite color. She forced her jewelry on me. Here, take this. Take this. It is both touching and morbid to accept a dying woman's most personal belongings. Her favorite silver and turquoise earrings, the onyx bracelet, the Black Hills gold rings. She even gave me her little silver buffalo pendant. I wore it to a grade school presentation, and one of the children raised her hand and asked, "Is that a pig?" My sister's cat was killed recently, run over by a car, and the crucial difference between having children versus having pets is that when your sister's cat gets run over by a car, you can say things like, "She never was really bright." I have one more here. Oh, this is the one I wanted. Okay. The Lakota, as you know, probably, unburden themselves of hair, of fingers, cut into their flesh to temporarily escape the grief of a loved one's death. I saw this on a man called Horse and dances with wolves. But as far as I knew, no one in my family had ever done this. My mother was worth far, far more than a hank of hair. She was worth my spine, my eyes, my womb. I want my remains spread at Disneyland, my mother said. But I don't want to be cremated. Just leave the parts. Okay, I promise. You can bury my heart at Chuck E. Cheese's. Okay, you got it. Bury my heart at SeaWorld. I will, Mama. I will fight no more forever about putting the toothpaste cap on. We were two Indian women laughing until our bellies ached, spitting death right in the eye.
Thank you very much. The last reader is Theodore C. Van Alst Jr., Associate Professor and Co-Chair of Native American Studies at the University of Montana. His edited volume, The Faster, Redder Road, The Best Un-American Stories of Stephen Graham Jones, was released in April 2015 by the University of New Mexico Press. He's been interviewed by the Washington Post, Canadian Broadcast Corporation, Native American Calling, Smithsonian Magazine, and Al Jazeera American Television, and has recently appeared in multiple segments of Mankind, the Story of All of Us. On Netflix.
All right, cool. Thank you. Thanks. I have to apologize that I'm the last person you're going to see, but I'm going to try to make it a good one. And I have this photo series of all the people up here, so I'm going to post us all later. All those books, or most of us have books. If the books are up here for sale, and Stephen Graham Jones signed all of his books. I'm going to read you a story that I was going to read in Santa Fe over the summer, but it kind of takes place in that neighborhood, and that seemed too easy and cheesy, and so I thought I would save it for something else. And the story is called Hound, and it works for this. And I find that as I'm getting older, especially this year is really weird. I'm on time for stuff. My students are here. I show up early for class. I fit the form. I do the function. I got the thing. And so here's this story called Hound about various types of dogs. I sat in the back of the bus and wished this fucker would stop for a smoke break. I've been looking out the same goddamn window for 3 hours. Cactus Rock Hill sand, Cactus Rock Hill sand, Cactus Rock Hill sand, Cactus Rock Hill sand. Jesus. The guy in front of me, Jesus, I think he's asleep. I need to wake him up because I need this cat on my side. I get that he's probably tired given our earlier conversation, which I will hip you to later, but we need to stop. Jesus, come on. Dude, wake up. ¿Por qué? We need to stop for a smoke. Okay, what do we do? Just help me talk shit. Okay, okay. Hey, Mr. Bus Driver. I kind of yell out. Nothing. Hey, Mr. Bus Driver. I say again. Hey, excuse me, sir, Mr. Bus Driver. Nothing. Excuse me, sir, Mr. Bus Driver, I say loud. And I'm loud. I'm not big, but loud with a T. I started calling cadence the first day of boot camp. Our chief was like, damn, boy, you got a big mouth. Fucking A. Jesus jumps in. Hey, Mr. Bus Driver, he yells. Mr. fucking Bus Driver finally acknowledges our back of the bus presence. He looks like the bus driver in Smoke Signals. He's got a kick-ass mustache and all. What's the problem? He says, with the O like an A, with that accent like one of the Chicago dentists, Franz or Farina, I don't know. But either way, for me, it's a bit of home and it's kind of weird. We say, hey, would it be cool if we stopped for a smoke break? Other heads on the bus whip around to look at me, and I give some what's up head nods to people I've been seeing on this ride, which has been long, which has started in LA or Needles or Phoenix or shit, I don't remember, but yeah, it's been going for a while. The other folks on this bus say, yeah, that's a good idea, Mr. Bus Driver. He says, well, pipe down there, little man. We're almost to the stop. I've been hearing your almost shit for a while now, I say. I say we should stop now, I think. No, he says, yup, the other passengers say. But he says, we're almost there. We're tired of your almost shit too, they say. We're fixing to stop right here, they say, or we're gonna light up right here on the bus. Like y'all been doing in the bathroom, he says. See, you ought to stop more, they say. Now pull over, be a good guy, they say, or we'll light you up too. God damn it, he says, and he pulls over. I'm nervous as shit, sorry you guys. We step off the bus and out into the hot, dry air. People be lighting up like this was going to be their last smoke ever, like maybe he wasn't really a bus driver, but more their executioner, more that we were a pile of Gary Gilmore stuffed together in this rickety piece of shit who's just hauling us out to the desert to put us down, mad dogs and refugees from all America never cared to give us. I think of Ralph Steadman sitting in a baked metal folding chair sketching us as we debus and filling in the color over drinks and ether later on, and I light up a cool and I hand out a couple of more. This bird goes by, sort of runs by so close that I think it might have been in the bus with us. I look at its face to see if maybe it needed a smoke too, and sure enough, it looks like there's something going on there. She has something hanging out of her mouth, maybe a French fry, but the McDonald's is like 17 miles away, and then I get a closer look and I see it's a green and white snake, and not a Newport 100. Ha ha ha. What the fuck kind of a bird eats a snake, for Christ's sake? Hey, Seuss, I say, man, what the fuck is that? He says, that's a roadrunner, bro. I'm like, dang, that's a not good looking bird, man. He says, no, but it gets its bird job done. I say, how come it's not purple? Como? I said, well, aren't they supposed to be purple and blue? He goes, seriously, bro? That's a cartoon. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, maybe that, I think, but I don't say anything. We kick it for a bit, smoke 2 smokes each, because fuck that bus driver and his schedule. He eats free when we get to the McDonald's or the Burger King, so that's his payoff for getting him and us there. And whether he's alive or not probably matters even less to them, to us, so we'll get there when we get there. Right? I'm pretty sure one of us could drive this pile of crap shit. My buddy Goof Goof drove a CTA bus home one night, so why not? And I cut the story for this thing to fit the form, but I have a collection coming out from New Mexico called Sacred Smokes, and this story is in there. And Goof Goof steals this bus, and that's part of the story. But we'll go back to Jesus. Jesus drags his ass back on the bus. He's tired, right? Like I told you. Jesus is a tired motherfucker because Jesus got 2 wives. One here somewhere in America, and the other one in Mexico. Dude got like 3 jobs too, but he says it's the wives that make his ass so tired. I believe that shit too. I watch his face, and he looks alone and lonely too when his eyes go out across that deep and gray blue desert floor. And when his eyes do that, it looks like he's got no love, no nothing at all. And the way his stare is so empty. You know, just these wives and these jobs. And the dude is ancient. He's old, like 28, you know? But he looks 100 at least. I'm not about that shit. I'll just ride and rhyme. I'd rather do my living out here, standing in the sun, watching this bird eat a snake, and get my face lined and my soul sanded down by the wind and rain instead of by jobs and by judgments. How do I know this shit about Jesus? Because he told me when we met earlier. Probably didn't want to or mean to, but people tell me shit all the time. The most personal shit you can imagine. I always wonder why that is. Is it because people trust me or want me to like them? Or is it because people don't respect me, don't see me, just dump shit on me like I don't matter? I'll have to think about that one. Jesus, though, he told me all the shit because old boy was drunk as a lord, and I can make that assessment with a fair degree of accuracy because so was I. We're sitting in the back of the bus, and not all the way back where you have to see and smell the shitter every time someone goes in or out, but about 3 rows up on the right-hand side of the bus. It's about 11 o'clock at night. And I think we're near Deming, or that was the last stop, or the next one. And it's kind of hot. It's not too bad, but the air on this thing sucks. The batteries are running down on my Walkman, and I've been rewinding tapes with a pencil for the last couple of hours. And I say, fuck it, and I reach down to my bag, and it's a bag for real. I'm moving from LA, I think at this time. It's a hefty bag full of some clothes, and my books, and some tapes, and a sketchbook, and a notebook, and that's all I got. But I got beer in there, about 10 of them. They're pretty warm, but whatever, I'm on a bus, right? I crack one open, trying to be all quiet, I think, but not quite enough because this dude creaks his head around. Hola, amiga. What do you got there? Beers? You got any more? Yeah, I say, I got a few. Maybe I could get one. I only got a few, Holmes. I say, he says, that's cool. We can trade a little. I say, trade what? He says, tequila. Shit, man. I think to myself, I don't know if I want to drink some fucking tequila. Man, the last time I drank tequila was back in Phoenix. The bartender at this place I used to go would save the worms from the mezcal bottles for me. One night I went in there and he's like, hey man, I got like 5 worms here for you. Cool, I say, throw them in a shot for me, will ya? For sure, he says. I down the shot with these fucking worms with like 4 more or so, and then I eat like 6 5-erins, and then I go to play foosball, right? There's this gigantic drunk dude. He's all, hey fucker, I will beat your ass in foos. Right? I'm like, I don't think so, you jolly bastard. What? He says, let's play for drinks. I say, okay, but I hope your ass is that fat because your wallet is full because you're fixing to lose some dough, bro. I proceed to beat the shit out of this guy, but he's getting really pissed off. I take like 4 games in a row and he's doing the desperation, doubling up. Now he owes me a lot, right? And I'm thinking, whoa, this dude don't lose that often. When he decides to tell me, apropos of nothing, that here's the fucking Pima Indian champion of foosball and probably the world, and that he is going to whip my ass. And ever since I was a little kid, like in 4th grade, I can't take people yelling in my face, and all of a sudden the bartender, Senor Gusano, back there, appears on my right with a pool cue. What the fuck? I think that seems pretty convenient. And then I wake up like 20 minutes later on the floor in the back of the bar. I feel around for a minute. Both of my hands work, but the knuckles are all creaky. That's good, I think. Yeah, I must have landed some punches because, well, that's all coming back in a flood. My face is a little swole under my eye, but the nose seems to be okay for once. I'm tasting some saltiness, but my tongue tells me all the teeth I went under with are still there, and the ones that were missing to begin with aren't filled with anything they shouldn't be. The top of my head feels okay, but when I check out the back, my hand comes away sticky. Okay, I feel around. Shit, there's some grit and maybe an old cigarette butt or something, a peanut or a candy corn, whatever, but there's no fresh blood. So good, but hey, there's no money for stitches, and I don't have anyone around here who could do it for me anyway, even if I showed them how. How do I know how to do stitches? Shit, you read a book and you practice. I listen for a bit, but there's no one around me, no one talking shit. Classic rock is on because of the shitty DJ at the radio station they play in here. But everyone who works there drinks here, right? So we deal with it, but there are one or two cats who will play some newer shit if you promise to buy them a shot later, so yeah, it's okay. It kind of hurts when I breathe, so I probably at least cracked a couple of ribs. Finally, I open one and then the other eye. No crazies around, people are just chilling at the bar, and the foosball table's empty. I don't see those dudes anywhere, so either they're in the bathroom holding hands and peeing and I'm about to get jumped any minute, or they're gone for the night. I take my chances and I head for the bar. Ha ha ha, Craig laughs. What the hell, bro? That was nuts. Give me a beer, I say. Hold on, man, don't you want a shot? He laughs again. Fuck you, dude. I say, give me a beer, man. Okay, okay, he says, here you go. Dude, I say, stop giving me those fucking worms. And did you hand me a cue stick? Yeah, about that. Sorry, man. I threw a little dust in there with those worms. My bad, he says. I say, I ought to kick your ass too, you big son bitch. I laugh. Really, though, I hate this Texas fucker with his Ogilvy home perm and his cop stash. He's a real prick, but he likes to buy me drinks. So whatever. So what happened anyway, I ask? Ha ha ha, he says. Man, that big dude tried to grab you up and you smashed him in the face with a cue stick and his nose made this really cool and awful sound. And then he started yelling and his buddy cracked you in the back of the head with a bottle. Is that how I got this gash back here, I say? No, he laughs. That shit bounced off your head and hit that scrawny little fucker in the face. He went down over there. What the hell's your head made out of, man? Concrete? Holy shit, that was funny. So how did I get my head laid open, I asked. He says, well, when you hit the big boy, he was coming for your neck with everything he had, plus both hands, and you fucked him up so good with his stick, he got knocked out, then he kind of fell and bounced on top of you and rolled off to the side. Your head hit the ground good. When you two went down, it made this whack sound. So then what happened, I say? The best part. What was that? He says, man, you were pissed. You were holding your ribs on the one side, but you were yelling louder than anyone I've ever heard. I thought for sure you were going to wake those two motherfuckers up, but you never did. Is that it, I say? No, man, like I said, he says it was the best part of the night, because you were standing there yelling at the top of your lungs. You just cocked your leg up on the end of the bench in the booth, straight whipped it out, and started pissing on the big guy. Holy fuck, I thought for sure they're going to wake up now, but they never did, even when you were laughing and shaking it out on his partner. Jesus Christ, what the hell's wrong with me, I thought. So, is that it, I say? Is that it, he says Craig. Yeah, I guess so, you crazy son of a bitch. Hey, let's drink. The rest of the night is on me, he says. That's the best shit I've seen in a long time. So yeah, I was thinking drinking tequila was probably not the best thing to have. While I'm confined to the back of a bus rolling between all of hell's circles, but hey, maybe it would help the warm beer taste better, right? Okay, Holmes, I say, let's trade. I say, let's drink.
Thank everybody for coming, and like he said, there's books up here for sale, and this is where the real work is in the books, so come get some.